Opinions expressed by talk show hosts or callers on KWRO do not necessarily represent the opinions of the staff and management of Bicoastal Media LLC, its sponsors, subsidiaries, or possibly anyone else on the planet. From high atop the historical hall building in beautiful downtown Coos Bay, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Good afternoon and good day, Coos County. It's good to see you all, hear you all once again, and it's good to be broadcasting live from the palatial studios up here at the Hall building. And if you're tuning in, you're going to have one of the best shows I can possibly give you right now, because we've got a guest that's going to be coming on, and she is absolutely fabulous. I am right now wearing my Liberty Brigade shirt. And in case all of you don't know anything about the Liberty Brigade, you're going to find all about it in the next half hour. But I was lucky enough to be a host of an event that we had I think it was last year or the year before last, where we had attorney KrisAnne Hall come down to Coquille, and she did another event in Coos Bay, and I was able to host both of those events, and it was very exciting. She gives a course on the Constitution, and she's absolutely incredible. The information that she gives in these courses, I have used here on my radio show, and when Jim was on doing his show, many times I would be quoting the things that I learned in her courses. The impressive thing that I've always thought that she was giving is that she's very regimental when she does her classes, and she's very incredibly focused. So that's why when I talked to the lady who was setting up this interview, and she said that Chris usually only comes on for about a half hour, I made sure and moved all of my commercials to the second part of this first hour so that we can have as much time as possible with this lady. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background for KrisAnne. KrisAnne Hall was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, and begun her career as a biochemist. She was a Russian linguist for the U.S. Army and a prosecutor for the state of Florida. KrisAnne also practiced First Amendment law for a prominent national nonprofit law firm. Currently, she is the president of Liberty First University and travels the country teaching the foundational principles of liberty and our constitutional republic. KrisAnne is the author of 6 books on the radio show. 6 books, has a radio show and a cable television show. KrisAnne has been featured on C-SPAN TV and C-SPAN Book TV. KrisAnne will connect the dots for all of you. And all us listeners out there, get ready, because this is going to be some really good political therapy happening in the next 30 minutes. And KrisAnne, are you joining us today?
I am. Thank you very much. I loved your intro that you're nearly famous. I'm nearly infamous. So.
Absolutely. And, you know, they call me that because I'm sometimes here locally because I'm one of those rabble-rousers. And, you know, I was one of the gentlemen who got to interview you when you were here in Coquille, and then later on a group of us went over to Denny's Pizza and had some pizza. And I'll tell you what,
right.
you're incredible, Chris, and I thank you for coming on. So tell us, what have you been doing since then? Tell us about the Liberty Brigade and the Liberty First University.
Well, we have been traveling all over the country. We travel, for the last 6.5, 7 years, we've done 260 classes in over 22 states every single year. We are teaching high school, middle school, college students, state legislators, law enforcement. We are teaching everybody and anybody that will come in and want to know about the Constitution. And we teach it from an originalist perspective. We teach it understanding that, hey, this is what our founders wrote, and this is what they meant when they wrote it, and this is the only way our Constitution ought to be applied. It's not relevant what the Supreme Court says if the Supreme Court doesn't match with the Constitution and doesn't match with the intent of those who drafted it, and it doesn't matter what laws the Congress makes. If it doesn't match with the Constitution, then their laws are unlawful. And so we are really, really busy. Liberty First University is our online training. So if you are unable to have one of our classes in your area, if you're unable to attend our classes, that's how you get our classes online. And it's also a lot more classes than we're actually able to teach. So we have, I think we have 25 or more classes now, and we're putting up new classes every month, and it's really kind of hard for me to keep up with how many we actually do have. So it's exciting to have that opportunity to teach.
I was blown away about the amount of work that you have done just in the time that you had been out here from Coquille, your appearances on C-SPAN, your podcast that you've been doing, the radio show that you've been doing, and the fact that you've completed a couple of more books. And then on top of it, you're doing all these courses. I mean, where do you find the time for this, Kris?
Well, by the grace of God, we're able to do what we do. We have a good team put together that helps me. My husband helps me a lot. Our son is now 12, so he's old enough, and he'll almost be 13, so he's old enough to help us as well. We work really hard, and we put the same thing. Well, we try to put the same effort into the mission that many of our founders put into creating America as a liberty-focused government.
And one of the things that I really liked about your courses is you don't go by the interpretation of philosophers that came after the original documents. You go by what the original documents, what is in the original documents, and what the founders wrote about those documents. So you interpret it from original context, right?
Yeah, I'm really sort of puzzled why we need to go beyond those who drafted and those who ratified the Constitution, because we don't lack for subject matter. We don't lack for content. I mean, they wrote reams and reams and reams. They wrote books and letters. Seriously, you could spend an entire lifetime reading what they wrote about the Constitution. I don't know why we would have to go to what other people think about what they wrote. It just seems to me to be very inefficient and offers up great latitude for error. I mean, I think about when we were kids, and you play a game where you sit in a big circle and the guy next to you whispers in your ear, and then you whisper in the guy next to you, and they go around the circle, everybody whispering what they think they heard. And by the time you get back to the beginning, what's being passed around doesn't even sound remotely like what it started off with. And that's what happens when we deviate from what the history says and what the people who actually wrote and ratified the Constitution said.
Sometimes I think that's how modern legislation is arrived at. They start whispering at one end of the Congress, and by the time they get into the end of it, that's what bill we get stuck with, something nobody wants or agrees with. Let me ask you something. This is something that we've been under attack with the rise of socialism in our country. And it's something that I'm greatly worried about. I think it's a severe threat. And a lot of times socialists, to promote their agenda, what they do is they turn around and they'll call us racist and sexist. And they especially attack the founding documents and the founders as racist and sexist. What would you have to say about that?
Oh, well, the only way you can say something like that is if you've been miseducated or if you have an intended agenda to deceive. First off, you understand it's a different culture. So to apply the modern standard is really not fair and quite inaccurate. But in reality, you can't even apply the modern term and still call them the same thing. At LibertyFirstUniversity.com, we have a course that my husband and I actually teach together called Slavery and the American Founders. It's actually available on DVD as well at KrisAnne.com. But we take what the founders wrote about slavery, and we take what they wrote about how they drafted the Constitution as a tool to end slavery, and you get a quite different picture about who these people really were and what they really intended than what is found in the modern pundit or the modern vetted textbook. To the misogynistic tendencies I mean, seriously, you can say that about specific people, just as you can say about racism about specific people, but you can't paint that broad brush. I have a class that I teach called The Forgotten Founders that talks about all the women who were not just simply a part of our revolution, but were absolutely essential in who we are. Without them, we wouldn't be who we are today. And it wasn't that they were working in the shadows or working under pseudonyms or working under threat of oppression and persecution for what they did by the men, although they were threatened and persecuted by those who were the loyalists to Great Britain. But these women were recognized as heroes and given honor and given wards and given accommodations and placements in society because of what they did. I like to quiz people because I think that asking questions is how people recognize that maybe, we don't know what we should know. Maybe we haven't been taught the right things. So I don't mean to put you on the spot. You maybe know the answer to this question, because I've maybe taught it to you in the classes over there. But can you name there's a woman who was the first American woman playwright, first American woman historian, and first American woman political advisor. Now, those three titles all go to the same woman. And can you name what her name is?
I remember the class, and I remember you telling the name of the lady, and I can't remember it offhand, and I can see the picture of her, I believe, and so you caught me off guard.
So her name is Mercy Otis Warren, and in a society today where we're supposed to be lifting up and championing women who broke the veil, who are the first, 90% of Americans have no idea who the first American woman playwright, the first American woman historian, and the first American woman political advisor was, and that her name is Mercy Otis Warren, and that she did all of these things in the 1700s. And so, I mean, there's such a long list, and I give you a good 30 minutes of names when I teach the Forgotten Founders class, maybe even 45 minutes of women, and I'm just scratching the surface. So you have to lie. The school systems have to create textbooks that are bent on deception and deceit in order to keep on this propaganda and this paradigm that women were nothing but victims, helpless, oppressed by their chauvinistic, overbearing men in society.
One of the women that you talk about, and I think she should be an American superhero, is the lady who, when her husband, he was loading the cannons and he became wounded, and she had to finish that. Could you tell that story? Because I love that story.
Sure. Her name is Mary Ludwig Hayes. But most people don't know her as Mary Ludwig Hayes. Most people know her as Molly Pitcher. And Mary got the nickname Molly Pitcher because while her husband was serving on the front lines, she took it upon herself to bring pitchers of water to the men. Arming the cannons was a really hot thing. The cannons put off a lot of heat, and in this particular time, it was summer. I don't recall whether it was June or July. And the men would see Mary coming with the pitcher, and they didn't know her name, so it was common to just simply call a woman you don't remember her name, you don't know her name, there's Molly, right?
Right.
So they would say, hey, there's Molly with her pitcher. And so that's how she got the name Molly Pitcher. Now, her husband ran the ramming rod for a cannon on the front line, and one day her husband fell in battle while she was doing what she did by, keeping the men hydrated. And she put down her pitcher and picked up the ramming rod and actually continued on the front line, arming that cannon for the entire rest of the day. There's a historical story account that goes that teaches that the enemy's cannon fire was shot at her and passed right between her legs. And I don't know if you've ever seen one of those enemy cannons, but those cannonballs are pretty. I mean, they're not you don't want to get hit by one of those things.
Right.
And it flew between her legs, and the legend says, or the history says, that it tore away. The only damage it did was it tore away the lower part of her petticoat. And she didn't stop. She kept she kept ramming the cannon the whole rest of the day. And George Washington made her a non-commissioned officer because of her service.
We all should know Mary Pitcher's name, and it's sad that we don't. I want to kind of jump to what's happening in our government today, and it's something that puts two people that I personally like in politics, and that's the President Donald Trump against Senator Rand Paul over the issue of the border wall funding. And I'll give you a background. What happened is that the Congress didn't give him the funding he wanted, so he has declared an emergency so he can reappropriate that money to build the wall. And so the House and the Senate, and that includes Rand Paul, has voted against him being able to do that. And I am one of those, I can see exactly why the President Trump did what he did, and I understand why Rand Paul is against it, because back in 1978, Congress acquiesced their authority to the president. And so now he has this authority, and many of us didn't want him to have it because we knew it was going to possibly be abused. Can you kind of address that from what we've learned in your classes and how you would look at it?
Well, remember the source. If you're wondering about presidential power, if you're wondering about legislative power, the source is not the Supreme Court or your law professor. The source is the Constitution of the United States. The power that the president possesses, the power that Congress possesses, does not change over time. It is a static standard, and the only way it can change is if there is a written, ratified amendment to the Constitution. Now, in the 1970s, Congress, I think it might have been 76, I don't remember, passed the National Emergencies Act.
Yes.
Now, the problem is the Congress itself does not have the authority to declare emergency. There is absolutely no constitutional power delegated to any of the three branches to declare emergency and then to have some kind of expanded power because there's an emergency. Congress has a delegated authority to repel insurrections. They have the authority to repel invasions. They have the authority to declare war. So that is congressional authority. It's not a declaration of emergency. It has to be a congressional act to declare war or to repel an invasion. So the idea that Congress can declare an emergency, which somehow gives them great latitude and authority, is an unconstitutional assertion. On top of that unconstitutional assertion is the idea that Congress can invent power that belongs in the hands of the president. The president has very, very limited powers, and I know that's not popular to say in modern society, but the fact is true. The Article 2 is where the presidential power exists, and his power is very limited. As a matter of fact, I was listening to NPR today, and their constitutional expert said that the president has a lot of power to do whatever he wants. There couldn't be anything more false. Every bit of the president's power is contingent upon approval of the Senate or of Congress as a whole. There is only one authorized power that the president has that doesn't take consent of the Senate or Congress as a whole, and that is to offer pardons for federal offenses. So that's the only thing the president can do autonomously. He can't make deals autonomously. He can't go to war autonomously. He can't move troops autonomously. And he certainly doesn't have the authority to declare emergency. Now, the problem that we have with the border security, is that we get pulled into the wrong arguments, okay? Rand Paul has never said that he is opposed to Donald Trump securing the border. He is opposed to Donald Trump using a national emergency power because that power is not constitutional. Everybody in America ought to be opposed to every single president exercising unconstitutional authority, especially as one as off the chain as this national emergency authority seems to allude. The problem we have here is this, that declaring a national emergency is not only unconstitutional, but it is not the only way we secure the border. Number one, it's not the only way Donald Trump can secure the border. I'll remind everybody that Congress already passed the law authorizing the building of the wall. They are not preventing the building of the wall. They're simply not paying for it. So Donald Trump, as the leader of the executive branch, has access to a lot of funds that are simply not designated for certain things, plus he can use other executive funds to build the wall. Now, or to conduct some other form of border security. But the real solution is this. Even if Congress had not passed a law authorizing the wall, even if Trump did not have the money, so we'll set aside, pretend it doesn't exist, the real constitutional solution is for the states and the people through their states to secure their borders when Congress fails. You see, if Congress fails to do their job, it doesn't fall to the president to pick up slack. As a matter of fact, the president is specifically prohibited from engaging in congressional authority. It's called separation of powers. And our founders did that on purpose because they were really, really concerned that by creating a single executive that it looked too much like a king, and that if they allowed the executive, namely the president, to have power that appeared to be kingly, over time he would actually become a king. So that's why the presidential power is extremely limited, okay? When Congress fails to act, the power then returns to the people and their states as the delegators of congressional power. So we need our governors, we need our attorneys general, we need our sheriffs, our legislators, our county commissioners, our city councilmen, to realize that they have a duty and a responsibility to protect their people in spite of what the Supreme Court says and in spite of our modern-day trends of federal supremacy being the solution to all of our problems. The excuse that our governors won't do anything is just that. It's just an excuse based on ignorance and based on this new loyalty to federal power, which makes us look more like a kingdom than it does a constitutional republic. So what is irritating to me is this whole argument over national emergency is a big distraction away from where the real solutions lie, because it ought to be absolutely undeniable that there is no such power that rests in the hands of the president, and it's not our only solution.
I'm so glad I asked you that question, because that was something that we have been debating pretty recently. And that kind of leads me to my next question about what we've been doing here in Oregon and in the state of Washington and other states. Is we've been under attack by our state legislators by a lot of gun laws that many of us, just average citizens, see as a violation of our Second Amendment rights. And so what I have done here is, and it wasn't just me, many of us got together and we crafted what was called the Second Amendment Sanctuary Ordinance, which gives a directive to the county that they will not enforce any of these state laws that violate the Second Amendment rights. And it actually even goes further to say the county will not enforce any federal state firearm laws. Would you see that as a proper way to have basically a local rebellion against those state laws?
Well, let me sort of reclassify that, because I don't really. I think that classifying that as a rebellion is a bit of a misnomer.
Okay.
It's not a rebellion. It's actually a check and balance. This ought to be expected of the people to check and balance their government when they fail to fulfill the purpose of their existence. On my website, KrisAnne.com, I actually wrote an open letter to governors, legislators, attorneys general, sheriffs, and officers in regard to these laws that are denying people their right to keep and bear arms. And in that, I lay out from the very beginning the foundation and of the purpose and principle of even creating government. If you go to our Declaration of Independence, it explains why all governments are created. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. And then it goes on to say, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. So the only reason we ever create government anywhere in society is to secure the individual rights with a collective force. And so when our states create laws that are contrary to our rights, contrary to the securing of our rights, then they are actually failing to accomplish the only reason for their existence. They are not operating under the rule of law. They're operating contrary to the rule of law because the rule of law is a specific term that requires the law to respect and protect the natural rights of the people. So this letter that I have outlines all of that, the history, the philosophy, the truth about natural rights and the possession of these rights and the existence of government. And I wrote that to encourage people like you who are trying to stand up. So this is not a rebellion. This is a check and balance. Our constitutional republic was created with these kinds of intended checks and balances. We are not ruled over by a king. We, the people, are supposed to rule over our government. And for us to operate as if the only check and balance on government is government itself, and that's completely contrary and counterintuitive to how our governments were established. So I would say this is what we ought to expect the people to do. You ought to expect and demand that your counties do this. You ought to expect and demand that your sheriffs do this. Now, let me say this as well. These things violate more than your Second Amendment, okay?
Yes.
Because every person in office takes an oath that says something like this: I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of my state, and the laws of my state. Now, every oath is given in that order. Why? Because the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of the land. When the Constitution of the United States is silent or absent, then the state Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Then subordinate to both the Constitution of the U.S. and the Constitution of the state is the law of the state. So when the laws of the state contradict or conflict with the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution of the state, then those laws become null and void by the very nature of their conflict. And that's what you guys are doing. They not only violate your right to keep and bear arms, this is what you have to think about, they also violate your right to privacy,
right,
your right to property, your right to due process. We're talking about, on a federal level, we're talking about violations of 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th Amendments. You have 5 amendments that are violated on the federal level, and then on the state level, those bills of rights are mirrored in your state constitution. So whatever section in your state constitution that mirrors the amendments 4 through 8 are being violated as well.
And everything that you just said, and by the way, KrisAnne, I want to thank you for that letter, because not only have I used it myself, but I've sent that out to quite a few people who have asked me that. So yeah, your letter has gone far and wide, and I've made almost the exact argument down to the point where you started this conversation talking about I shouldn't call it a rebellion. You know, it's funny. That's exactly what I say when I'm in the county commissioners and I'm arguing with them, is that this is a check and balance on the power of the state that the county has. And they look at me like I'm just absolutely from Mars or something. So I want to thank you for that small vindication. You know what I mean? It's so nice to hear someone as intelligent as you giving us the argument that we've been using all over. So I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate you coming on the show. Could you tell everyone how they can reach you if they want to get in contact with you?
Sure. KrisAnneHall.com, KrisAnnehall.com. We do have a radio show we call the Daily Journal, and I'll just let you know the show that we published today. My husband is the co-host on the show. The show that we published today discussed the Rand Paul issue in detail.
Great.
And so more than we were able to get to on your show, we actually even discussed 5 arguments that have come against Rand Paul on this, and we show you how the arguments, although well-intended, are very misguided and based on bad information.
That's great. Thank you so much, KrisAnne, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you sometime in the future at one of your next events. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back, folks.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms. Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop across from Cumion's on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at GibbsRV.com.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Think you can't manage the down payment it takes to purchase a new home? Think again. You could move into a $150,000 home with as little as $1,500 down with our 1% down payment option. The rate today on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.19%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Every day people ask me, Jay, did I miss out? Have the rates gone up? The answer is no. Rates are still low, and it's a perfect time to refinance your home, especially if your mortgage rate is higher than 4.25%. If you'd like to lower your interest rate and save thousands of dollars in interest without starting over on a new 30-year loan, a Quicken Loans Yorgage is what you're looking for. With our exclusive Yorgage, you can choose a term that works best for you, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year Yorgage is 3.25%, APR 3.75%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 3rd year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember, now available in stores everywhere. Statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, so I have insomnia, but I've never slept better. And what's changed? Just a pillow. It's had such a positive impact on my life. And, of course, I'm talking about MyPillow. I fall asleep faster, I stay asleep longer, and now you can, too. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090. Use the promo code Hannity, and Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow, has the special 4-pack. Now, you get 40% off 2 MyPillow Premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Now, MyPillow is made here in the USA, has a 60-day unconditional money-back guarantee, and a 10-year warranty. Go to MyPillow.com right now or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity, to get Mike Lindell's special 4-pack offer. You get 2 MyPillow premium pillows and 2 Go Anywhere pillows for 40% off. And that means once those pillows arrive, you start getting the kind of peaceful and restful and comfortable and deep healing and recuperative sleep that you've been craving and you certainly deserve. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. You will love this pillow.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
I want to thank KrisAnne Hall for coming on the show and doing that interview. She was incredible, and everything that she was talking about you can find on KrisAnneHall.com. She's, once again, an incredible lady, very intelligent, and I recommend her courses highly. One of the things that I want to do on this show is I always want to put out accurate information. And if I don't put out accurate information, well, then I'm no better than the World newspaper or the abandoned Western World newspaper or CNN News or MSNBC or any other the places where you get a lot of fake news. And I want to be above that. I'm someone, I don't do this because I'm making millions of dollars. I don't do this because it's a way to get famous. I do this because I am a selfish man and I'm fighting for my rights. And along the way, hopefully I can get a bunch of other people engaged in fighting for their rights as well. And I hope they're just as selfish as I am for fighting for those rights. So when I do this show, I want to make sure that everything that I put out there is accurate. And I put out some erroneous information that was completely wrong, and I want to change that information. And it's about the opt-out of the historic preservation designation for Coos Bay. And as you all know, on November 1st, 2018, the Confederate tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Sislaw Indians filed an application to place 20 square miles of land surrounding the Coos Bay on the National Register of Historical Places. And one of the things I said, and the reason I said this is because I had a county official tell this to me on a show a couple of weeks ago, is that the Indians, one of the reasons they're doing this is that they're not recognized by the federal government and that they're trying to streamline this process or go through this process so they can streamline becoming a federally recognized tribe. That was completely wrong. So I want to apologize to the Confederate tribe of Coos, Lower Umpqua, and Sislaw Indians because they are a federally recognized tribe, and they have been so since October 17th of 1984. Let me give you a little background of the Indian tribe. Their homeland includes the estuaries of Coos Bay and the Umpqua and Sislaw rivers. The tribes have been operating under a Confederate government since the signing of the Treaty of August in 1855. The Confederate tribe have continuously maintained an elected governing body from 1916 to the present. In 1941, the Bureau of Indian Affairs took a small privately donated parcel of about 6 acres into trust for the Confederate tribes inside the city of Coos Bay. On this small reservation, the BIA also erected a tribal hall that included an assembly hall, kitchen, offices, and medical clinic. It is still in use today and is on the Register of Historic Places. However, without their knowledge or consent, they were included in the Western Oregon Termination Act of 1954. This is where they were trying to terminate a lot of the already recognized tribes. And even though the U.S. government officially terminated them, the Confederate tribes never sold their small reservation or tribal hall and instead maintained it. And on October 17th, 1984, President Ronald Reagan restored the tribes to federal recognition by signing the Public Law 98-481. The tribe's sovereignty was once again recognized, and the U.S. Congress restored funding for education, housing, and health programs. In 1987, the tribe approved a constitution and began to lay the groundwork for a self-sufficiency plan. And that's what I wanted to get out there, is that they are a federally recognized tribe. And I don't want to put out there any false information. However, I do think that the designation is wrong. I do not support it. In fact, I shouldn't even have worried about mentioning the tribe because it doesn't matter who's making the request for this historic preservation designation, because it's going to be a bad idea for property owners who are living in those 1,600 parcels that are going to be directly affected. And so even though I made the mistake of saying that the Indian tribe was not recognized by the federal government, I was wrong. And so this is my mea culpa. But if for those of you who want to opt out of this designation, I still recommend that you do. And there is a group called Coos Concerned Property Owners who has opened up an office at 281 South Broadway in downtown Coos Bay, and they're open between 9 and 6, and you can get them on their website at coosconcernedpropertyowners.com. And That was my mea culpa for the Indian tribe. I hope they accept my apology. And if I'm correct, I think we've got Tim from Tom and Gigs. Tim, are you there?
Hey, I'm here, man.
Hey, why don't you tell us what's going on today?
Oh, listen to you. That's pretty cool. It's it's interesting how all this seems to all of a sudden come up when there's an opportunity for this area to actually thrive for probably decades or longer with the LNG, and all of a sudden here this comes up. I think they're basically just put a kibosh on the whole thing with all this land law, the land grab, whatever you want to call it. It's just, why all of a sudden now, because LNG might go through. We got to do something here in this area. We can't just live on, everybody being a waiter or a waitress or a burger flipper. We need some industrial jobs here.
I mean, could you imagine?
Jobs. I mean, I don't know how this area could ever get out of the depression it has been in ever since the Weyerhaeuser left, really. There's no industry here.
Yeah, Tim, if you had to go through the process that LNG has to go through to do business, you would still be waiting there to change somebody's oil, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, this is just crazy. I could just, you start reading between the lines, it's just like, really? Nothing was ever happening, and all of a sudden this is going on, and we have a legitimate company behind it. I'm not saying LNG is a perfect thing, but, there's never going to be there'll never be the perfect industry to come to this area. They always find something wrong.
Right.
It's like the Democrats. There's always something wrong with Trump. He'll never do it right. Doesn't matter what he does. He can be God Almighty himself, and they'd still find something wrong. So, there's always going to be a detriment to something. But, there's got to be some kind of an industry here, because this really does make you feel kind of hopeless for the area. You like to live here, but you also want to be able to survive here financially. And all it's going to be is an old folks' home and a homeless home.
Yeah.
That's all it's going to be. That's all it is in the streets. That's craziness. But anyway, on a lighter note, we're doing all kinds of stuff. We got a new guy here now. His name is Quill, and he's pretty experienced, mainly with Fords, but in general is everything. So it'll be a great help to all of us here to have somebody else on board, because we were just getting swamped with work, and I can't do it all. And Austin's busy doing alignments, which we now will need state-of-the-art equipment. If you need a lift kit done, we do all the alignments, all the installation here. You need a muffler for your car. Generally, I hadn't been doing that, but you need a headache rack, toolbox, steps for your new truck, fender flares, whatever it might be. We can make your truck your own, whatever you want. And of course, we do all the RC stuff. I mean, that's a crazy thing in itself, but it's a pretty cool hobby, and it's kind of fun because it's cars, and they may be small, but they're a pretty cool thing. But anyway,
I need some fender flares for my Sentra. That's what I need.
man, that'd be cool. I'd be the only one around. But anyway, man, it's easy to get a hold of us down here at the shop. If you need a bed liner sprayed in or whatever, or just your rig checked out. We do a real thorough inspection with inspection sheets. I mean, we'll give you the lowdown on what needs to be fixed on your car, more ASAP. Sometimes you have certain things that are not as urgent, and some things that are safety issues, like brakes and that sort of thing, or worn out tires. And you can give us a call out here at Tom and Gigs. It's 541-888-4660, and the address is 135 South Shoneman in Coos Bay, just right behind the Most Car Wash, one block past the Boom and Y there. And we just got to have some people calling in about this land grab. This is just craziness. It's always got to be something that's puts another kink in everybody's optimism for this whole thing. So anyway, I appreciate you guys, and as usual, I'll let you go and let somebody else talk.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You bet, Rob. See you later, man. Bye.
Anyone who's a regular listener to my show knows that we have a giveaway for both hours, and we're going to have a giveaway this hour for a local restaurant, McDonald's. There's 4 of them, one in North Bend, one in Coos Bay, one at Walmart, and another in Reedsport. Right now, you can win one free small McCafe beverage, one free dessert of your choice, one free breakfast sandwich of your choice, or a sheet of buy one, get one free if you are the third caller at 541-267-2124, and we'll be right back.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, "Man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on?" He said, "I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, because your car is what we're all about."
We do it all.
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, they'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
There's no reason to guess. The verdict is in, and the solid winner continues to be Herbal Choices.
I think everyone knows why Herbal Choices is the leader.
You and I see Herbal Choices the same way, like a part of our family. They know me when I come in, and they're always happy to show me all that's new, including Jim Belushi's new harvest.
Hi, Jim Belushi here. My Belushi Farms private vault is exclusively here, Southern Oregon coast at Herbal Choices. Check it out. It's the only choice.
And no matter where you are, Herbal Choices is close by. Coos Bay, Charleston, and Bandon. They always keep me updated on their website at www.theherbalchoices.com.
No one can compete with Herbal Choices prices. They now have so many locations that they buy large quantities and pass the savings along to their customers. It's their people, friendly, always ready to help with knowledgeable answers. It's like dealing with family.
Do not operate a vehicle under the influence of marijuana. For use by people 21 and older, keep out of the reach of children.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
You know, I was listening to those commercials, and I want to thank my sponsors. There are some incredible people out there who own some really good businesses, and I recommend them all to you. I know Herbal Choices. I know the owner over there. He's a great guy. The Hole in the Wall. If you want anything, and they've got a microphone from the original MTV channel, so you know you can get wild stuff over there at the Hole in the Wall. They're great guys. They're great to deal with, and it's a very good store. The other one we just talked to from Tim from Tom and Gigs, and he's an incredible person who, if you need some work on your car, he's the guy to go to. And I want to congratulate Bob from Gibbs RV, the owner of Gibbs RV Superstore, for the second year. Get this, folks! For the second year in a row, they won a national award for customer service. That's an RV park here in little old Coos County, Gibbs RV, and they won the national award for best customer service twice now. So if you get over there, give Bob a pat on the back, and I'll tell you what, if you need an RV, that's the place to go. My in-laws bought a RV from Bob, and they've been very satisfied with the quality and service that they receive. And so I recommend that to anyone. And anyone who's ever wants to be a sponsor of the show, you can call into the radio station here at the office and let them know that you want to get in contact with me and that you want to be a sponsor, because that's how I'm able to bring you all of these wonderful guests like KrisAnne Hall and such. Next week is going to be another incredible week because we've got the attorney from the Gun Owners Association coming on. And so if you guys got questions, you might want to email them to me. And anyone who wants to get in touch with me can email me at robtaylorreport@gmail.com. One of the things I was noticing in the news is that Dianne Feinstein, did you all see that video of Dianne Feinstein where the environmental children came into her office and was demanding that she vote for the Green Deal? You know, and the reason it's green is because it's going bad. That's why. And she chastised the kids and told them that they can't come in there demanding that from her, that she's been there for a long time and that she won the vote. And so it's funny to watch when the left starts eating their own, and that's what's happening. Dianne Feinstein is part of the old guard, and it was funny to watch her have to eat some of her own medicine and then dish it out to a whole new group of kids who, once they went through that experience, I guarantee you they're disillusioned. But the fact that they think that all of this is somehow going to be solved by our government is the real problem here. Something else I want to remind the people who live in Bandon, the survey is out. That's right, the pool survey is out in your utility bill. And I want to remind you that this is important. If you don't want to pay for this, you don't want it to be on your taxes, and I don't care what the city says. The city's saying that it's just going to go into City Park and that it's not going to be a liability for them because it's going to be owned by a private corporation. That does not matter. Once they put that on city property, once that is sitting on government property, there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop the city from being liable for that action. And, it's a money pit. It's something that's a money pit. In fact, if you looked at the news, the Oregon Coast Aquarium, that aquarium up in Newport, they're asking for $10 million from taxpayers in a major expansion that they're trying to do. I guess a couple of years back, they used to have that whale, which was known as Free Willy, and that didn't turn out so well. I think they released him, and that poor old Willie died. I could be wrong about that, but I think old Willie died. Yeah, my producer's shaking his head. Well, get this. They want to revamp this 25-year-old facility, and they need $10 million, which is only half of the $18 to $20 million that they actually need to fix up the facility. The money will help further the nonprofit's role as a tourist attraction, economic development engine, and science education center. I don't know about that, but they do say that almost 500,000, 450,000 people attend that aquarium each year, and I wonder, wouldn't those people probably come out here anyway because we've got a bigger attraction than this little aquarium called the Pacific Ocean and a lot of cool air? Yeah, I think that's really more why people come out here. And I would privatize these aquariums and these pools because it's not the job of government. And so we'll have to deal with that as it goes along. And as you hear that music, it's almost time for the news at the top of the hour. And when we get back, I've got another guest for you, and we'll be right back.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, Coos County. I'm glad you're joining me. Anyone who has a pulse should realize that we are under attack, especially law-abiding citizens who are gun owners. We are under attack by a legislator, people in Salem, who really don't seem to care about our way of life and really do not care about our rights. And this goes beyond just our rights. It goes about the defense of our nation. Many people out there have misconceptions about the Second Amendment. They think it's about self-defense or hunting, and they couldn't be more wrong. The reason we have the Second Amendment is so that people will be able to own modern weapons so they can stop the tyranny or the enforcement of tyranny from anyone foreign or domestic, or any foreign or domestic government. It's not for self-defense. I mean, AR-15s are not designed for self-defense. They're designed for that specific reason. And, people who say, well, why do you need an AR-15? And why do you need an AK-47? And first off, I don't really have to give a reason. It's my right, and I don't have to give an excuse or a reason why I need to own those guns. But I want you to think about this. We have to have the Second Amendment, or otherwise you would not be able to fend off people who are violating your Third Amendment rights. And I want you all to think about that. What is your Third Amendment rights? I bet you're all sitting out there thinking, wow, we don't really talk about that. But it's the quartering of soldiers in your property, in your house. It was something that was very important. John Hancock, the reason he signed his signature so large was because he knew that the king would recognize it right away, because the king was the one who stationed soldiers and a British general in John Hancock's house for most of the Revolutionary War. And so that's why they wanted to make sure that there was a Third Amendment saying that the government cannot quarter soldiers in your house. It was part of protecting your property. Well, how can you stop soldiers from coming in your house if you don't have military-grade weapons? That's something to think about. And it's something that I think is being infringed, and people are doing many different things to help stop this here in Salem. And one of those people is going to be one of my guests here on the show, and his name is Josiah Underwood. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that, but he's having a rally on March 23rd called Defend the Second Rally, and it's going to be on the steps of the Salem of our capital here in the state of Oregon. And I've got Josiah on the phone. And Josiah, are you with us today?
Yes, sir, I am.
Great. Tell us, why the heck are you doing this, man?
Yeah, so just to give you just a quick synopsis of, our background and what is going on with this event, basically I am an operations director for a firearms manufacturer in Redmond. We actually started in Salem. The company's called Radiant Weapons. We make AR-15s and AR-15 accessories and have benefited from the right of Americans to own firearms and being able to do commerce legally and sell those firearms. And what we've noticed is, as you stated earlier, we are under assault on our rights in our state. A lot of these bills that are being introduced in the House and Senate are nothing less than draconian. They'll make felons out of people who own revolvers that their grandparents gave them in the 1960s. So we have decided that, it's time to put our money where our mouth is and publicly lend ourselves to speaking out against what are nothing less than infringements on our rights. And so we've committed to spending $100,000 on this event to try to make it successful. And so we need a large showing for Oregonians of all backgrounds and political ideologies. All they need to believe in is the Constitution and the Second Amendment to come together and basically let our legislators know that we really have had enough of their attacks on our rights, and we will not stand for it anymore. So that's kind of what the event's about.
I've got a question for you. You work for Radiant Weapons. Are you guys worried that this is going to affect your bottom line and maybe even put you out of business?
No, I don't. I'm not worried about that at all, because what ends up happening for manufacturers as a Class 7 manufacturer with an FFL and a special occupational tax license, what will end up happening is we'll be exempted from being able to, make AR-15s, have large capacity magazines, selling parts. We'll be allowed to continue to do commerce. And to be quite honest with you, even though we're from Oregon, Oregon ranks very far down on the list of consumer bases that we have. We'll be fine. I mean, obviously our bottom line will probably be affected to some degree or another, but we primarily sell accessories, and so people will still be able to buy those through the mail anyways in Oregon. So I really don't think it'll have any effect on us, but I think more importantly, it's about not being afraid and doing the right thing. And honestly, there was a big gap here where I felt like nothing was kind of being done in a meaningful way, or in a way that was enough awareness was brought about. And we have a lot of avenues for bringing awareness to things because of our notoriety in the industry, and people who like guns know who we are a lot of the times because we're a successful company. But I thought it was important that somebody who benefits off of the Second Amendment and the right to own and bear arms needed to do something in a meaningful way to help the citizens of Oregon.
I got a question because now I'm really curious. You piqued my curiosity, but who is the largest? Which state is the largest consumer of your products? If you don't mind,
it's definitely California. Believe
no
it or not,
way.
They have some of the strictest. They have the strictest gun laws in the country, or some of the strictest gun laws in the country. But there's 33 million gun owners in California, and there's a lot of people with money in California. So they're by state the largest consumer of our products. Second, and pretty close to that, is Texas, Florida, some of the southern states. Virginia's up there, Tennessee. And really, Oregon is not a huge population center.
Right.
And, it's just what it is. There's a lot of gun owners in Oregon for sure. But, when you're comparing us to Texas,
right,
it's just not even close. And so, yeah, California is definitely – and now, again, we sell accessories, which means they're not restricted items. We do sell complete guns, which are higher-end AR-15s that don't move in huge volumes compared to some of your less expensive products. So we can ship, our accessories, which are proprietary and manufactured here in Redmond, Oregon, to your mailbox, right? So gun laws don't have a big effect on what we're selling. So California is definitely our biggest consumer state.
I'm really glad to hear. I'm sad to hear that many of us locally will be losing our rights, but I'm glad to hear that you'll at least be able to carry on in commerce, because that's, it's something that I hope the other states are going to start protecting more of their citizens' rights, especially their Second Amendment rights, and not go the direction of Oregon. But to get back to maybe this rally here, what who are some of the speakers that are coming on? Do you have a list of speakers?
We do. So basically, we felt like it's really important that, Oregon's an interesting state in the sense that, it's pretty liberal. Let's be honest with with ourselves, and that's fine. There's a lot of people that are progressive and kind of, have that whole hippie nature and background from just the way the state is.
You're so kind, because I think we're left of Trotsky at some point,
Sure, yeah, and it depends on where you're at in Portland or somewhere weird like that. But even in a lot of the inner rural communities, there's people that are less conservative than, say, if you're in Texas.
Right.
And so we recognize that, with that being said, there's a lot of people that appreciate the fact that they can own firearms and defend themselves, and they understand the meaning of the Constitution, which is exactly what you said, to be able to protect yourself against tyrannical governments or foreign invaders. And, that's kind of what the whole deal is about. In addition to being able to protect yourself, in addition to being able to hunt for game or whatever you're into. So we recognize that, we wanted to really have a really focused effort on the Second Amendment because of other political activities that I've engaged in personally. They tend to be a little bit broader scope and kind of go along partisan lines, which I think can detract from what we're trying to accomplish. What we're trying to accomplish by having this rally is for there to be a clear message sent to our legislators that this is an important issue to a lot of people, to include a lot of people who vote Democrat and who are supporting a lot of these bills. And if you do this, it's going to activate a lot of people politically. There's very few issues like gun rights that kind of people going. I'd say there's a couple other issues like, probably abortion, maybe some things to do with freedom of religion, taxes, LGBTQ issues kind of get people excited a lot of times, but gun rights is a big one for a lot of people.
Yes, it is,
and it's a big one for a lot of people who oppose gun rights because they've been victims of violence and they've been affected negatively by firearms, which you can empathize with them and feel sorry for them and their circumstances, but still be able to hold a position that just because bad things happen with firearms does not mean we need to eliminate the right of American citizens to have guns. So we really want to have a laser-focused event where we come out and we really send a message to our legislators to make them realize that, hey, you might pass these laws, but, we're going to repeal them and we're going to get you out of office next time you run.
And I couldn't agree with you more. Did I hear this, or did I see this right on the Facebook page? You guys are sending buses out across the state, aren't you?
So right now, with the budget we've compiled, we've committed $100,000 of our money towards this event, and we've received money from Novetzke Rifle Works, which is a Grants Pass company that's a well-known high-end AR-15 manufacturer. They've given us some money for the event. And we've actually raised about $8,000 in 3 weeks here, or 3 or 4 weeks for the event. So right now we're sitting at a total budget of around $113,000 for the event. Buses are extremely expensive, and so we're trying to maximize our effect by picking the right locations where people can kind of go to hubs and get on the buses. But yes, right now we're committing to spend between $30,000 and $50,000 on buses, and the 4 locations we have currently. If we get more money, we'll definitely add locations and maybe add stops. So we have buses from Pendleton, Medford, Redmond here where we're located, and then Portland that are all going to be busing in. And so we hope to be able to have at least 1,000 seats bussed in from around the state for those that don't have the means to drive to Salem.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad you guys are doing this. Would you do me a favor? Go ahead and tell everybody the name of the rally, where it's going to be, and how they can get a hold of you if they need more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually set up a website that will be kind of the location where we're going to continue our political activism after this event is over, because, again, the fight is kind of starting for us, not ending. The website that you can go to get all the information and all the updates is Defend the Second, and second is the number 2 and D.org. You can go there. You can watch our public statement against any more gun rights infringement, and then get updates as to our activities related to the event. There's also a Facebook page, which is, if you search on Facebook, defend the second event, it'll be the first thing that pops up. That's where you can RSVP to the event, find our GoFundMe page, get information about everything that's happening there. And just so everyone knows, this event is going to be going down in about 3 weeks on Saturday, March 23rd, high noon. It's going to be at the Capitol steps, and we have the entire Capitol Mall and the parking garage reserved. There will be a covered stage, and there will be vendors there selling food and alcohol, and there will be speakers to include senators and congressmen who are in support of our Second Amendment rights and who will defend them, as well as Adam Kraut, who's running for board of directors of the NRA, and another gentleman from Firearms Policy Coalition who's he's a lobbyist that is a part of a group that's very active in supporting gun rights through basically suing every time they do something like this. So that's kind of the plan. And, it's fluid, it's active. It's really just a few people kind of putting this thing together and making this thing happen. But right now we're expecting it to be a really big event with thousands of people there to support our Second Amendment rights.
I can only imagine, after what I've seen on Facebook and the talk about it and the legislation that's coming out, I can only imagine that you guys are going to be just slammed with people. I mean, I can see right here on Facebook it says 1.2K going, 5.2K are interested. So, you could have a potentially almost 10,000 people sitting out there for you.
Potentially, yeah. We're about to, one of the other things we're going to do in addition to spending a lot of money on buses is we're going to hit it really hard in the last 3 weeks before the event in advertising, and we're going to have radio ads as well as targeted internet ads on YouTube, Facebook, other things like that, where we will be playing 30-second promotional videos that are basically informational for people to know there's an event happening, and then to kind of quickly outlines the threat against our rights in the state of Oregon. So we're hoping that number grows significantly. I mean, if we had 5,000 people that showed up to this event, it would send a really powerful message to the legislators, because in a lot of these counties, some of these anti-gun Democrats are not very strong.
Right.
They've never faced a very organized opposition. And, a lot of times elections are determined by several hundred votes. And so they need to be put on notice that, if they want to attack our rights, there are people in this state that are going to fight back. And so if we have 5,000, it'd be huge, I think, a big victory, and potentially change the course of our state and its current legislative threats, at least for a short time. And then I think if we ended up having over 10,000 people, it could be kind of a thing that sends a national wave as far as, people are sick and tired of being attacked for exercising their rights.
Josiah, am I pronouncing that right, Josiah?
Yeah, Josiah.
Okay.
That's how you say it.
Well, hopefully I'll be attending. I'm going to try to get out there myself, and so I'll introduce myself when I get there. I figure you're going to be there, and anytime you have food and alcohol, I'm almost always there for assured.
Absolutely. And just a quick note to anybody who's listening that might want to come to the event. Obviously you can exercise your rights any way that is legal. And so if you want to show up in open carry or concealed carry, that's perfectly accessible. But what we're asking is that if you're going to bring signs or flags of any kind, that it be the Stars and Stripes only, or signs in support of the Second Amendment, because, again, this event is really not about any other type of issue, and we want to stay laser focused on this specific event. So we're asking that people use their best judgment as to the kind of weapons they decide to bring to this thing. We remind you, if you're drinking, you can't carry. And so just please show up, show support for our Second Amendment rights, and be good ambassadors for the 2A community.
And folks, especially pay attention to that, because when you attend these events, they will judge us by the group we belong to, because you know how socialists are. Uh-huh. So they will show that one crazy drunk who's waving his gun around, and that will be what's on the news. We don't want that to happen. So please show restraint, show respect, and make sure that message is, like Josiah said, focused. We're Americans. Let's stay united, and I agree with that. And I thank you for coming on the program. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. And with that, we'll be right back.
Stop in today to the all-new one-stop gun shop, Hole-in-the-Wall Gun Shop in Coos Bay. Your area leader in quality firearms, Hole in the Wall Gun Shop proudly features the top brands of new and used handguns, hunting rifles, black rifles, antique and collectible guns, ammo, mace, and more. Gun cleaning and repair, expert advice, and handgun safety classes for concealed carry permits are offered too. So stop into Hole in the Wall Gun Shop across from Cumyons on Highway 101 South in Coos Bay. We buy, sell, or trade.
The RV business is booming at the Boomin' Y, and Gibbs RV is looking for nice pre-owned RVs to consign or buy. Gibbs RV makes it so simple. They will come to your location, give you a fair appraisal, and help take care of all the paperwork. It doesn't get any easier than that. So let the professionals at Gibbs RV take the hassle out of selling or consigning your RV. Stop by and see them today at 1845 Ocean Boulevard in Coos Bay by the Big Boomin' Y in Empire, or check them out at GibbsRV.com.
For 20 years, the Oregon Firearms Federation has been Oregon's only no-compromise voice for gun rights. While other organizations who claim to speak for gun owners made deals to bargain away your liberty and property, office stood face-to-face with the gun grabbers in Salem to protect your rights. But there's never been a more dangerous time to be a gun owner in Oregon, and we need your help. To become part of the fight for Second Amendment rights and to sign up for free legislative alerts, please visit our website at OregonFirearms.org. That's OregonFirearms.org.
It looks like we're back again, and I want to appreciate Josiah for coming on. It's not easy for a business to take a stand politically, but, in his business I can understand. I mean, he does sell firearms and firearms accessories. It's like the Hank Hill of the propane industry. I sell propane and propane accessories. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but the Wall Street Journal reported on Oregon, because we're the only state now that has rent control, which is silly because government, anytime they use the word control, it's illusion, because control doesn't exist when it comes to the government. People are going to find ways to get out of the system and find ways to get around what the government is trying to do. But in the article, the Wall Street Journal article, it says that Salem enacts a housing policy that is sure to limit new housing. And this is Wall Street Journal. I mean, we've been saying this to the legislators up in Salem for quite a while, that the more laws that you impose on people who are trying to provide rentals to other citizens, the more that people are not going to get into that business. I'm someone who has a dog in the fight. I have a rental, and I can tell you now that we will find ways to make sure we make money off of this, because if we're not making money, then it's not worth doing. And in fact, that's the rule for life. There's, if there's no incentive to go out there and work because you're not going to make any money, no one's going to get a job. And so that's why socialism is such a bad idea. And when they talk about this idea of having, a salary for people who don't even want to work, that's part of that Green Deal that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has come up with, and all the rest of the loonies up in Washington, D.C. are following suit, and which is crazy because, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she reminds me of every crazy woman I've ever been out with. And I'm not saying women are crazy. I'm just saying I've been out with a few crazy ones, and boy, she reminds me of several of these people who are just as loony or as nutty as a fruitcake. And so for this young lady to be coming up with new energy policies and new economic policies when she was just a bartender and couldn't even balance her own checkbook, and you can check on that, I did. And so to have this young lady telling us how she's going to save the world, because she knows it's going to end in 12 years, of course. I mean, I remember when Ted Danson said the oceans were going to end in 5 years. I think that was in 1986 he said that. Guess what, Ted? You still have the oceans. We're still moving along. And that's going to be the case for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What a beautiful name that is. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Oh, yeah, it's a beautiful name, but what a loony bin, I'll tell you. one of the other things that I thought you might be interested in that made national news was the Amtrak train. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there was people stuck on an Amtrak train for 48 hours coming through Oregon when that snowstorm happened last week. And the paper was reporting, the national paper, that these long trips like this, and the name of the line is the Coast Starlight, is probably going to be doomed. The Coast Starlight spokesperson is saying we are rethinking how we offer service on the national network, and that was an Amtrak representative, because Amtrak receives about $2 million in federal funds every year, and thank goodness, finally, Trump is talking about cutting that in half. I think it's not good enough. I think he should cut that completely. I think Amtrak, if it can't be self-sufficient, if it can't be paying its own way, then I don't know why people should have to subsidize wealthy people to go back and forth to work or wherever they're traveling from. So any of you who are big Amtrak enthusiasts, well, it may be going away because the Coast Starlight, that train that got stopped for 48 hours, they may not be funding that anymore. Something that I think you all may want to pay attention to, because this affects everyone in the county, but there are open positions right now for the special districts election in Coos County, and this is for all registered voters. Well, actually, I'm not even sure if you have to be a registered voter to be a candidate. Interesting. I should have asked the county clerk on that one. But the special elections are very important for local decisions. There is going to be millions of dollars right now that's being bargained over in this community enhancement plan. And the school districts, the Bandon School District, North Bend School District, the Coos Bay School District, the Coquille School District, are all going to have some little input on this community enhancement plan, because when they create this community enhancement plan, part of it is I believe it's called the South Coast something Foundation. Half of that's going to go to the schools, and so the schools are going to be making decision over millions and millions of dollars. Well, if you want to be someone who has a little bit more say over this money, and especially if you're a fiscal conservative, someone who believes in, not spending more than you take in, well, then you might want to file for one of these offices. The filing period started in February and is going through March 21st, so you just got a couple of weeks left, and I recommend that everyone get out there and take care of this. I think if we're, let's see. Oh, yeah, dinner and a movie. Dinner and movie night for conservatives. We had a dinner and movie night last month, and it turned out to be a really fun event. And the movie we saw was, it was a Dinesh D'Souza movie, and it was about the history of the Democratic Party. Death of a Nation, that's what it was, and it was a takeoff on the Birth of a Nation. And so we all enjoyed it. It was a great movie, and we're going to have it again. We're having this Friday on March 8th at 7 p.m. in the North Bend Library. Any of you conservatives want to come out, we're going to have another Dinesh D'Souza movie. It's about Hillary Clinton. And I will have some of those political signs for the Oregon Pushback Group. If you've been over there across from 7-Eleven in Coos Bay, you can see a couple of those signs where it says the Oregon legislators want to take your gun. Well, that's true, and you can get one of those signs, and if you want to pick it up, all you have to do is show up at the dinner and movie night for conservatives. And once again, that's this Friday, March 8th at 6 p.m. is dinner, 7 p.m. for the movie at North Bend Library. And I think it's time for a commercial break. And with that, we'll be right back.
Hey, don't be left standing in the dust. Take the lead with the help of Tom & Gig's 4x4 Performance Parts and Service. Off-road truck parts, lift kits, accessories, and more. Whether it's hitting the dunes, slinging some mud, or hitting the mountains, Tom & Gig's can definitely help you get your rig ready for your next adventure. What are you waiting for? Get it to Tom & Gig's Automotive next to Moe's Car Wash in Empire, Coos Bay, or visit TomandGiggs.com. Bigger is better.
In just a fast few minutes from right now, you can have life insurance for up to $500,000 without taking a medical exam and without leaving your home. We're Fast Life, and we're going to make this easy and fast. Odds are that you don't have enough insurance, or you're paying way too much for what you got, or you don't have any, and that's not good. Listen, nobody likes to think about life insurance, but we're grown-ups now, so call and protect your family. 1-800-254-9567, or go to fastlife.life. You've got insurance? That's great, but you may be able to get more coverage and pay less than what you're paying now. And with no medical exam, you can get it right over the phone, and that's fast. Faster than a speeding bullet? No, but fast. And we also said we make it easy. So call and get quotes, then submit an application over the phone, and that's it. And that's easy. Get approved, and coverage starts instantly. And that's fast. Faster than the speed of light? No, but fast. Call 1-800-254-9567 or go to fastlife.life. Fastlife.life. It's revolutionary. It's Fast Life.
If you run your own business, when you're not on the job, you're on the road. In your van. Signs that say detour and do not enter are just plain bad for business. Well, here's a sign that's great for business. It says 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance on Mercedes-Benz Sprinter or Metris vans. Powerful, capable, and affordable. That's Mercedes-Benz Van Power. With pioneering safety technologies and low total cost of ownership, Mercedes-Benz vans are the right choice for your business. Check out the full lineup of Mercedes-Benz vans starting at just $25,995. 0% financing and up to 2 years complimentary scheduled maintenance. That's van power for all. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to run.
Starting ad price refers to base model Metris worker cargo van. Excludes all options, taxes, title, registration, transportation charge, and dealer prep fee. Please see your dealer or go to mvvans.com for further details and exclusions.
Are your medical bills piling up due to cancer or another serious illness? You are not alone. Many people face this challenge. Here's how Coventry Direct can help. You can receive an immediate cash payment by selling your life insurance policy. If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may be eligible to sell your policy, even a term policy. To find out if you qualify, call Coventry Direct today at 1-800-510-2800 to speak to one of our policy specialists. That's 1-800-510-2800. The cash you receive from selling your policy can be used to help pay medical bills or whatever you choose to give you financial security and peace of mind. Call Coventry Direct at 1-800-510-2800 or visit us at coventrydirect.com. Coventry Direct, giving you the cash you need when you need it most. Coventry Direct is a marketing company and will refer qualified policies to a licensed entity.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you've been keeping attention to what's going on in Salem, and you usually get a regular notice from the Oregon Firearm Federation, then you would know that there has been a new bill that has been introduced called HB 3223, which is essentially a copy of IP 43. I don't know if you guys remember IP 43, but the Oregon Firearm Federation challenged that in court and defeated that initiative ballot, and luckily for us. But just like everything, it comes back alive in Salem. You know, I think that's where Friday the 13th must have been filmed, in Salem, because nothing dies there. It just gets resurrected under something else. And, of course, this new HB 3223 has an emergency clause on it, so there's no way that we can file a referendum if the bill passes. But here's the bill summary. The bill requires persons who owns assault weapons on effective date of act to register assault weapon or take other specified action within 1 year of effective date of act. Defines terms, punishes violation by a maximum of $2,000 fine or by a maximum of 6 months imprisonment. Or there's a $2,500 fine or both for a second or subsequent convictions. Great. Prohibits the manufacture, transfer, and possession of assault weapon except in specified circumstances. That's nice. You get stuck with them now. Punishes by maximum of 364 days of imprisonment or a $6,250 fine, or both. Requires report of a loss or theft of an assault weapon. Punishes failure to report by maximum of 364 days imprisonment or a $6,250 fine, or both. And it provides that information in report may not be used in prosecution for possession of transfer or of assault, and it declares emergency effective upon passage. And that's the summary. But basically, the bill would effectively ban virtually all modern firearms unless the owner registered them with the police. Now, what other right do you have where you have to register with the police to be able to utilize that right? I mean, if I write a letter to the editor, that's my freedom of speech. Should I have to go to the police and ask them to approve my letter to the editor? Then why should I have to report to them? I don't think that you should have to tell the police how many firearms you own. It's none of their damn business. If I don't want them to know how much I own of anything, I don't think it's any of their damn business. Even a vehicle. If I don't even want them to know that I own a vehicle, as long as I'm not driving it on the street, once again, it's ain't none of your damn business. But the owner of a firearm would have no way to transfer the outlawed firearms to another person. The sponsor of the bill would allow you to move the guns out of state, or, of course, you could just simply move out of state yourself. Isn't that nice of them? If we can't get rid of conservatives, we'll just outlaw one of the most popular items with conservatives, firearms, and that way we'll get rid of them via their weapons. So possessing your dad's M1 carbine will now get you a year in a slammer and a fine of $6,250 if you're one of the people who are found in violation of HB 3223. To see more info on this bill and its sponsors, you need to go to Oregon Firearm Federation, and that's just OregonFirearmFederation.com, and they can give you more information on that. And if you want to track the bill, you can go to the Secretary of State's website, or the, I believe Oregon Live even has a way that you can track these bills. So that is something that I recommend to everybody. And then there's another one they just introduced, SB 817, which creates crime of unlawful storage of firearm, punishes by maximum of 364 days of imprisonment and a $6,250 fine, or both. Because, we want to get you in both directions. It punishes the second or subsequent convictions by a maximum of 5 years in prison or a $125,000 fine, or both. Requires gun dealers to post notices concerning the obligation of gun owners in the store for a safe manner. So what we're all going to do is, if you have to have your firearm locked in a gun safe, my recommendation is to put a gun safe door on the front door as your entry, and that way your whole entire house then becomes a gun safe. That's my recommendations, and that's what we're going to have to live under with these draconian laws coming out of Salem. One of the others that they just did is House Bill 3265, which bans standard capacity magazines. Who the hell are they to decide what's a standard? My standard is anything over 30 is a standard, okay? But get this. Possession of any magazine capable of holding more than 10 rounds will get you 6 months in jail. Well, what if it takes more than 10 rounds to put some burglar down? And it's happened before. You get some guy, he's a 300-pound monster, he's hooked up on angel dust, he's coming through your door. You pump 10 rounds into him. What are you supposed to do? Go to your gun safe? Get it out of your gun safe and make sure you only have a 10-round magazine because you don't want to violate the law when you got that drug-crazed maniac kicking through your door? Yeah, that's great. That's all we need. And then what if there's a multiple attackers? This doesn't have to be one. There could be several coming through your door. So this home invasion, and by the way, I know people who years and years ago who became criminals, and they didn't want you not to be home. They wanted you to be there when they kicked in the door because they wanted to induce the most maximum fear. And that's really sick if you ask me. But, you should have a right to protect yourself. Well, guess what, folks? I think it's time for another contest. So if you're all out there in La La Land, you can be a winner for another fine meal at a fine eating establishment, the Lucky Star, one of my favorite. I wish they were open on Mondays because I'd be there every Monday night to get my sesame chicken and chicken fried rice. It's my favorite. But if you want to win and be a winner and win this house special, it includes barbecue pork, sweet and sour pork, fried shrimp, spring roll, pork fried rice, and pork chow mein. And to be the winner, all you have to do is be the third caller at 541-267-2124, and we'll be right back.
Looking for a new or used firearm? You should get to know the friendly folks at World Pawn Exchange. Located at 1980 Sherman in downtown North Bend, World Pawn Exchange buys, sells, and trades firearms of all types. And with their extensive, ever-changing inventory, they could have just the right firearm for you. If they don't have that gun that you want in stock, they'll be more than happy to special order it for you. World Pawn Exchange in downtown North Bend, where you'll find more than you can possibly imagine.
Well, I was driving across town when my car got down, started lurching and trying to die. Well, luckily there was a shop, and when it struggled to a stop, a nice fella met me right outside. I said, "Man, something's wrong. What the heck is going on?" He said, "I tell you this, I got no doubt. You just relax and don't you worry. We can fix it in a hurry, 'cause your car is what we're all about. We do it all."
Bayshore Auto and RV Repair, your one-stop shop for all your automotive and RV mechanical repairs. Stop by and see Jeff and his friendly staff on Bayshore Drive in Coos Bay.
The clear leader, Herbal Choices. Join the Herbal Choices happy family for best selection. 100 strains, always fresh. Unlike stores that always have the same old products, there's always something new at Herbal Choices. 100 strains and growing. And check Jim Belushi's new harvest. Just in again and better than ever at Herbal Choices. Coos Bay, Charleston, and Bandon. And online at theherbalchoices.com.
Hey, Jim Belushi here. Herbal Choices on the southern Oregon coast is where you can find my new harvest. Belushi's Private Vault. Check it out.
And reasons are clear. With 100 strains, Herbal Choices sells so much product that everything is always fresh, and there seems to be something new every time I see my Herbal Choices happy family. All our friends agree. The clear winner is Herbal Choices, the only choice.
Check it out. It's the only choice.
Do not operate a vehicle under the influence of marijuana. For use by people 21 and older, keep out of the reach of children.
We're back in session. It's the Rob Taylor Report. And here he is, Rob Taylor.
Hey, everyone. I want to thank you for joining me. We're about the last little bit of the show here. And I want to congratulate Jessica. You won the prize that we were giving out. And just to make it fair, guys, if you win one of my prizes, we usually don't allow anyone to win twice in the same month because we want to be fair. I mean, we get a lot of calls during the contest, which is funny because I don't get nearly as many calls when people are allowed to call in. Of course, we've been having a lot of guests on the show. And to me, it's been pretty nice to be able to have these guests who have to call into the station. And if they call into the station because the system's a little antiquated right now and it's getting updated as we speak, we can't have more than two people on the show, so we don't normally have the ability to take calls while I have a person that's a guest on the phone. And in the future, I hopefully will have a few more people who are going to be live in the studio. That's always the best way to do it. I know that we have those special districts going on, and I'm going to try to get some of those candidates to come on the show, but the only candidates that I'm going to have on are the ones who are facing a contested race, because I don't think there's no reason to have a person who's not being challenged in a district race to even be on the show. So I'm going to try to get those people and see what we can do about getting them to come on. I do have a caller on the phone, and we're going to go to Dave. Dave, are you there?
Yeah.
Hey, man. What you doing?
Hey. Oh, I just had a curious question on Rob. He's pretty good on the politics stuff, it sounds like. And, things have been escalating with the homeless. It's not going to get better in the next 10 years. And this Democrat thing, I don't understand the thinking, but it's not going to get better either in the next 10 years. And my question is, at what point does the actual, I don't know, revolution or the cleansing, or when in your opinion will that start, in the next 5 to 10 years, or what? I'll take my answer offline. I'm just curious because it's going to happen, but when do you think it'll start?
Dave, it's funny and kind of sad that you asked that question, because in a free society, in a civil society, we shouldn't be worried about that. We should be able to conduct our business without having to worry about these basically a military confrontation, and it could be a local area. It could be a whole entire region of a state, like the rural area of Oregon. But I've been traveling many different places the last year or so, and one of the things that people ask me when I'm speaking is that very question: when does the revolution begin? I've got news for you, Dave. The revolution has already begun. We just aren't out in the streets yet fighting. We're just not out there with our guns behind the buildings and taking in mortar fire. It's just not quite happening yet, but I'm in great fear that it may happen. And the reason being is that the greatest threat to this country, and I used to say the greatest threat to this country was the debt. We have a $22 trillion debt, and we have a $1 trillion deficit that adds to the debt every year, and nobody seems to be cutting it, including the supposedly fiscal conservatives. And I used to say that was one of the greatest threats to this country. Now I'm starting to think that there's a second great threat to this country, and that's the socialism, which isn't really anything but collectivism, whether it be brought on by fascism, socialism, communism. It's all totalitarianism. It's a total takeover of everything we own and everything we are. And I know people are going to say I'm going into the area of conspiracy theory, but this is about Agenda 21 and imposing the world government upon us all. And this is being brought in by social justice, and this is being brought in by these socialists who have probably no idea, no clue about the ideology that they talk about. It's a feel-good, sounds-good ideology, where we're all going to get free health care, where we're all going to get free college education. Like, I'm too old to go to college anyway. Maybe I can go for the panty raids or something. But the thing is that they're going to offer all this free stuff, and at some point the bill comes due. Well, what happens when the bill comes due? Well, when that happens, the day that happens, that may be when the revolution starts to become an actual military conflict, because that bill is going to come due. And the socialists are just driving the cost of that bill, and they're going to impose their ideology upon us. One of the things that I'm going to ask when I get any of the candidates here is, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, are they a socialist or do they believe in capitalism? Because like I said, that's the greatest threat to this country, because we've got a public education system that's no more about education. It's about indoctrination and supporting the public unions that are behind the system. Until we start changing it, until we start looking at ways in a different way than we have been looking at it in the modern contemporary viewpoint, we got to go back to what our founders were trying to create. A country that was based on individuality and individual rights, where everyone was treated equally. And until then, we're all under threat. We're all under threat, and there's not much we can do about it except wait for that other shoe to drop. And like I said, Dave, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know where it's going to happen. It may just start on some farm where some old curmudgeon is being forced to give up his guns, and he decides, hell no, I'm not going to take it anymore. And a couple of people die in the incident. And the rest of us say, well, we're not going to allow this to happen. I don't know if it's going to be guns. Maybe it's going to be smart meters. Maybe it's going to be the chip that they're going to force to be implanted on each and every one of our palms. I don't know. I don't know how much our country is going to take before we stand up and say, hell no, we're not going to take any more. And part of the problem, Dave, is that so many of us are living off the government dole that we're afraid to stand up. Because many of us got our hands out. We're either receiving Social Security disability, we're receiving welfare, we're receiving food stamps, we're receiving this benefit, we're receiving that benefit. So at some point, we're all culpable in the problem. And because we're culpable in the problem, we're all going to have to pay a price for that, unless we're all willing to say that we're going to have to give it up. That collectivism doesn't work. Healthcare is a perfect example. Healthcare is a perfect example of where they're leading us to total control over your body. Right now, you think that you mean anything to the government? You know, the liberals, they're funny. They want the government to take over our health care, yet they're willing to have a baby be born and then murder that baby. Think about that. How can these people provide health care and education to the same people that they have no problem killing as soon as you come out of the womb? And that's what they call a much gentler, kinder ideology. But it's not. The only way that we're going to solve our problems is stop looking towards government. You know, it's like this Indian request for this designation of this historic district. It's not the Indians who are the problem. It's the government who allows the system to exist. And we allow the government to allow the system to exist. So once again, we're culpable. So we may be facing a revolution. We may be facing armed conflict in the streets. And if you look in Portland, I just had a guest on last week. His name is Joey Gibson. He's facing that. This past week, he went down to join in on the Women's March. And he said it was quite an event. I wish I would have been there, but fortunately, I live in a nice, sane part of the state of Oregon. But that insanity is coming our way. That insanity is growing, and it's collectivism versus individualism. And so my only argument is to stop it, is to get involved. That's part of what I've been arguing about, is activism. That's the political therapy we need to the ills of our policies right now. You have to decide. You know, every one of the guests that I've had on this show, they didn't start, no one went to those people and said, oh, KrisAnne, you need to be an educator activist and need to go out and teach the Constitution. No one told that to KrisAnne. No one said to Joey, you need to go down to downtown Portland and have a prayer rally. No one said to Rob Taylor, Rob, you need to start going from county to county and start helping them pass laws that will protect their rights where they live locally. No one comes to you and taps you on the shoulder and says, today's your day to become an activist. You have to decide it. There's no government policy. There's no government agency. There ain't a bureaucrat out there that can help you. You have to help yourself. I can't do it. I can barely wake up in the morning. So, Dave, to answer your question, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I got a feeling something's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. And if we're not prepared, it's going to be like those poor people in Drain who got stuck in the snow. I mean, it's been 2 weeks since that snowstorm, and they're still rationing their water. But the great people of Drain, they're smart enough to prepare, and they were prepared for what they are now dealing with. Are you prepared, Dave? Is any of you prepared out there? I don't even know if I am, because I don't know what's coming. But I know I'm going to fight it with every inch of my body because I know it's wrong. And I know if we don't stand up today and we don't stand up together, there may be no other chance to stand up. Well, it's been another week. Next week, we'll do another show. And like I said, we'll have the lawyer or the attorney for the Gun Owners Association on here. And hopefully many of you people will start participating. Because like I said, no one is going to do it for you. Only you can do it for yourself. So until next week, you carry on, Coos County, okay? Because no one's going to carry you besides yourself. Till then, carry on.